We are now joined by the columnist of Score Golf Magazine and former contributor to Globe and Mail. He's written a book, Mo and Me, Encounters with Mo Norman, Golf's Mysterious Genius, and he recently did a one-on-one with Tiger Woods. You can be seen that at time.com. He is Lorne Rubenstein. Lorne, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good, guys.
Now, I read this. I enjoyed reading this so much, I read it twice. I love anything Tiger, and he's a guy that I just can't seem to get enough of. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was maybe the timing of this whole situation. Do you think that Tiger, that he chose to talk now, maybe to change his approach to the way that he decides to golf, to maybe alleviate some of the pressure from the outside, or to just reduce some of the pressure that he puts on himself?
I don't know his particularly internal motivations, but I do know that this was happening for quite a long time. It was just a matter of finding the right publication and then getting it organized when we could see one another. I mean, I knew that I was doing something with Tiger, one-on-one and exclusive, probably, 3 months ago. I knew that. So then it was a question of getting the right time. I never had the sense that, it was always going to be hooked to his upcoming 40th birthday, but he had agreed to do this with me before he had his back surgeries, his second back surgery in September, and the follow-up procedure not long after. So, if you look at the timing of it, it can look like kind of part of a campaign, but on his part and his team. But I never really sensed that. The only thing that I knew, I think that's relevant to that, is that he knew that there was going to be a lot of articles about him coming up to his 40th birthday, and that he and the people in his camp felt that, well, if that's the case, he should be talking on his own in at least one exclusive piece, and that's the way it came about.
Now, when things are in print, it's a little bit difficult to kind of hear inflections or how people are maybe feeling. What do you think Tiger's mood was when you met up with him?
It was pretty upbeat, really. We sat in the restaurant there for 2.5 hours. We chatted through a working lunch, and some people came and went. The people who were working at the restaurant, and I would have to say it was really pretty upbeat. Everybody, he was in a good mood. He was sitting there with the bag of ice on his lower back, and very comfortable, casual, talking with a couple of people who came by about football, that sort of thing. And I think it was, in general, very, as he used the word, he wants to get back out there and play. He really does. The resignation that maybe people interpreted from the Tuesday press conference this week in the Bahamas, I didn't really sense that. And my interview with him was done not long before that at all down there in Florida and Jupiter. So, sure, he'd rather not have to be going through what he's going through, and the rehab is slow and all of that, and he made clear that, but he also made very clear to me that he's going to give it his all to come back and play, and, when he can start to kind of working on his game a little bit, he'll do it, but he's not going to do it, obviously, before he's 100%. Not going to make that mistake.
That's interesting, Lorne, because when I read this, I felt like this interview was somewhat grim from his perspective in the sense that, like, just the reflective nature that he was kind of looking back on his own history and the way he kind of, was very focused on his kids and the future that without golf. You got no impression that he feels like he's done. Like on some level deep down.
No, I didn't. Okay. I got the impression that he's being realistic, that he is not, as he said in the interview, that there are times he's played through pain, and while he's won championships doing that, most notably in 2008 at the U.S. Open, it's also, and he used his words, done some damage, really, and we talked about that. So I just think, after going through all that, when you think about it, the guy's had surgeries for 20 years, basically about the same length that he's been a professional golfer, and he's won 14 major championships and, another, 65 PGA Tour events. And he's done that really through, you'd have to say only at certain periods in his career has he been 100% healthy or not going through something. He's had so many injuries and surgeries. So, that to me is quite an accomplishment. So, no, I think, having done it before and come through surgeries and injuries and pain, he wants to get out there again. As friendly as he is with McIlroy and Fowler who's also a member of the medalist, and McElroy has a place down there too, in the area, on all the guys. And Jason Day, of course, he's close to, gotten the closest to. He wants to talk to them and help them and work with them when they ask him questions. But, I mean, I could tell, and you would hear it in the tone, as you say, you can't see it on the printed page so much, that he wants to get in the mix and get out there in the back nine and thrash them if he can. That's still there, but it's obviously moderated by being realistic, having the kids, being 40 years old, and these injuries.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I mean, just as an experienced golf writer, someone who's been around for a long time, I mean, I thought one of the things I thought was interesting was the way he had kind of changed the parameters for his own greatness. He said that he was not focusing anymore on the majors. It wasn't about, I mean, obviously he cares about getting past Nicklaus and getting past the 18 majors, but now he was, kind of maybe rewriting history a little bit, saying it was about how quickly he got there. Has Tiger Woods, I mean, even in his own mind or in your mind, I want to know as well, has he become a what if in some ways?
I don't think he's really become a what if. I mean, he won those 14 majors by the time he was 32. There's been a lot of, I guess you would call them lost years since then, except for 2013 when he won 5 times, but he still didn't win a major, which is obviously the be-all and the end-all to him. He's often said that, winning one major in a year is a great year, and so that's what's most important to him, as everybody knows. If he hadn't been so injured and things, I mean, there's a tone of reflection, certainly, and almost philosophical in what he's the way he's approaching things right now. We didn't get too much into what he, if he's regretful or anything like that. But I mean, anybody gets around 40 years old with everything he's gone through who knows what it's like to be in his shoes? Such a public divorce and a public, I mean, just what he had to go through and the speculation about him. The guy's a human being, and he's done a lot. He was really sincere when he said something, and he said it very quickly about it's been quite a ride. Or when I mentioned, you won 14 majors by the time you're 32. He said, I don't have the interview right here in front of you. I know, it's frightening. I mean, that was quite a word to use, frightening.
Do you get a sense that maybe Tiger, that the injuries changed his competitive spirit? Or maybe not that he's less competitive now, but do you feel as though maybe the other golfers view him a little bit differently, that they've kind of seen him with his turmoil with injuries?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, they've seen his vulnerabilities, and they know that, with all of these injuries, it's going to be difficult. I mean, it's obviously it's unlikely he's going to come back and win 6-8 tournaments a year and win 4 majors in a row as he did back there. So, and also these guys, the guys in their mid-20s, early 20s, coming out or even younger, they've seen the bulk of the time that some of them have seen Tiger is when he was not playing his best golf, really. I mean, they were 13, 14 years old when he was playing his best golf, so they do see that he's vulnerable. They also are aware of what he's accomplished, and so I guess a bit of the edge that he had over them. He said in the interview, you never want to let your opponent know that you're hurt, so he was trying not to show that. I mean, I would guess they're not. I think they all still know, if you talk to them, that if he can get on his best game, he's going to be formidable. But the edge he once had, it just can't be as sharp as it once was.
Now, you mentioned it a little bit ago, talking about Tiger and how he still is got that fire that he wants to get out there, and the injuries haven't allowed him to be able to do that. Do you think the fact that he's almost not been able to intervene has made having to hear about guys like Rory and having to hear about guys like Spieth and Jason Day, do you think that that stuff has kind of really irked him?
I don't think it's irked him, but I would say it's motivating him in some way. That sitting there and knowing what's going on and watching them do what they're doing, I think he's probably, motivated by that. If he can get healthy, if he can get close to 100% healthy, and which means no pain in his back, really. I mean, I don't think you're going to see him wanting to cope with that again, really. I mean, he can handle the knee pain, as he said, because it's after impact. But before, when he's swinging and taking the club back and his back is hurting so much, that's pretty tough. It was amazing that he played through that as much as he did. So, I think it's probably, when he's sitting around, it's probably motivated. Hey, I want to get out there and give it at least one good, big shot if I can get healthy again, even if it's just for a year or 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is.
Now, Lorne, you mentioned
I'd say he's being motivated by it. I mean, I think he's always been a guy like he knows what's out there. The young guys are taking over, that sort of thing, and I would say that part of him is, hey man, I feel like if I go out there and play my best golf, I can still take these guys on, and he wants to do that. But if it doesn't happen because of his injuries, then obviously, he can't go through his whole life regretting that. He knows he's had a phenomenal career, even if he can't get out there again.
Now, Lorne, you mentioned, I mean, he was not cagey. He was definitely I think in the interview, it seemed like he was very focused on making it clear that the injuries were the reason that his career has gone south, and that's definitely the reason on the surface. But these things seem to really coincide with what happened in his personal life, his marriage. Do you think, after speaking with him, do you think that is just a coincidence, that this thing happened in his personal life and then the injuries started, and that the injuries caused the downfall of his career? Or do you think that he's not admitting that the public perception of him and what happened kind of derailed his career in some ways as well?
Well, I think he publicly he obviously says that. I mean, if you think about it, 2008 U.S. Open, he wins with his leg all banged up, broken. And in 2009, Thanksgiving, everybody becomes aware around the world of his, and he's kind of publicly shamed. Then he comes out again. He doesn't play till the Masters. I think he finished fourth there, but he wasn't really that much in contention. So, it's probably more than a coincidence. I think that, we didn't get too deeply into that at all. But I think that, the guy's a human being, and suddenly, and I see him as a fairly shy guy recently. As he says, we talked about, the golf is the most private game played publicly. So he's in this arena that he has chosen, totally his own doing. This is what he does so well. And at the same time, he's walking between the ropes, and he knows there's, millions of eyes on him and looking at him and saying, man, the guy was just, publicly embarrassed. And you think about that press conference he did, and he didn't look too good with that apology, that public apology. So, who knows, when you're out there in a private game played so publicly, you would think it would have played into him, but the physical injuries have caused him to, I think, make all these changes in his golf swing to cope with them, to deal with them, and maybe that's been pretty difficult, obviously.
Do you believe that Tiger, he talked about his kids being by far the most important thing, and that if there was any chance that he wouldn't be able to live a normal life with his kids, that he wouldn't do it? Do you think that if we see Tiger again, that it will mean he's at a relatively high level of health?
Yeah, I do. I just don't see him getting out there if he can't play 100%. He knows when he spoke about the majors particularly, and he said how you got to be physically prepared, emotionally prepared, spiritually prepared, everything, and the kind of preparation that he puts into the majors in particular that he points to. If he can't do that, he knows these young guys are tremendous players, obviously, and he's got to be able to prepare. That's the main thing. Even Nicklaus said that recently. If you can't prepare the way you want to prepare, then what's the point of going out there? He's not just going to, he knows he can't just go out there, I think, and, tee it up in the Masters. He's got to, or whatever it is, the Open, or who knows what he'll next play in. But he's got to be able to prepare and work and get competitive. And if he doesn't do that, then I think it's unlikely that we'd really see him out there again. It's not going to be a chancy thing.
Lorne, one last question. So these injuries, you've been writing about golf for a long time. I can't remember a player in golf breaking down the way Tiger Woods has broken down. What do you think is going on here? Is there something else that is there a story we're missing? Or is it just the way he swings? Why had the injuries become so bad so quickly?
Well, I don't know if it's quickly. It started with that left knee, which, they cut him up pretty bad there when he removed those two benign cysts on his left knee so long ago. So there have always been injuries there, and he's been prone to them, and, I don't know why. And then, of course, he was a tall, slim guy, and did his bulking up have anything to do with it? People have argued that. only I don't know if there's a definitive answer to that. I was talking to a friend of mine last night who's a doctor, and and that's kind of his view. He's not an orthopedic surgeon. He's a physician, and he said, you've seen people try to change their bodies, but would Tiger have tried to change his upper body for more power or whatever if he thought it would cause the injuries? I can't believe that he wouldn't have gotten advice, and the people he has in his camp and the therapists he has access to and the doctors and the orthopedic people, I can't believe he wouldn't have asked them the question, say, okay, if I do this, what is this going to do, let's say, to my knees or maybe my back or whatever. But who knows? There's obviously with Tiger, I mean, I talked to him for 2.5 hours. I could talk to him for 2.5 weeks. He's had such an unusual trajectory to his career, starting from the time when, I mean, it's really, one of a kind, obviously. And, there've probably been other players who've been derailed by injuries, but they didn't come close to achieving what Tiger achieved, so we never heard of them. They were gone by the time they were 25, let's say. So I think there's a lot of this story still to be written, really. And I think it's the fact that he opened up publicly here about some private stuff that he hasn't before just makes him kind of more of a human being to people, and it'll be interesting to see how people respond to him when he comes back. I know from all of the reaction I've had to him, people who, really didn't care much for him before, they're seeing another side of him now, and I think it humanized him to a certain degree.
And just quickly before we let you go, your gut, does Tiger get another major?
Honestly, I don't have a gut feeling about it, because ask me that, if he gets healthy and he can come out and play nearly 100% healthy, I think he's got what it takes to get another major. If he's not 100% healthy and can't prepare, no.
I agree. I completely agree. He is Lorne Rubenstein, columnist for Score Golf Magazine. He has also been the columnist for Globe and Mail. And, of course, this interview with Tiger Woods, you can see that at time.com. Lorne, thank you so much for the time this morning.
You bet. Nice talking to you guys. Take care.
I appreciate
Thanks, Lorne.
it. Thanks.
Appreciate it.